Hello. This week we're going to be working on the Understanding by Design or UbD Template Stage 3 Planned Learning Experiences. Stage 3 is basically modeled around the Where To learning plan. The Where To plan stands for W, which stands for the where are we going, why, and what is expected. The H is hooking and holding the student's interest. The first E is equipping students for performance. The R is for how we will help students rethink and revise and even reflect on their work. The second E is for self-evaluation and reflection. The T is for tailoring learning towards varied needs, interests, and styles. And the O is how we would plan to organize and sequence the learning. So starting with the first area of Where To, or the W, we begin with SMART learning objectives. By the end of the unit, the students will, and again, this is as always with SMART learning objectives, these are specific, they're measurable, attainable, results focused, and time focused. So we'll want these to map back to our unit objectives from stage 1. The relevance. What are the benefits to students by completing the unit, and how would they benefit from learning this material? And diagnosis. How will you know before the lesson and what they know after the lesson? So these are examples of ways that we could take, for example, we could take a pre-test, and we could ask students all of this at the beginning of the course or the unit, what they know or what they think they know, so that we can gauge what they really know and what they maybe misunderstand about the unit topic. Okay, moving on to the H, which is getting and keeping students' interest. We provide examples of perhaps projects that were terribly late, famous projects such as the Big Dig in Boston or the Pentagon itself. There's lots of examples that we could use that students may or may not know, but are large, high-profile examples, and hopefully that would get some attention. Additionally, the intent would be to ask students to pick some kind of an event or a small activity that they would need to plan in the near future, and so that they could personalize it, that it's not just about business or about academics, but how they can actually benefit. So that's hook and hold. And then how will technology be used? We'll attempt to use clickers. We'll use laboratory exercises using Microsoft Project and other tools, and then audio-visual tools such as videos and live demonstrations. Okay, moving on to the first E, how do we equip students to help them experience the key ideas and to explore the issues? Experience and explore. The first example that I would give here would be to do a walkthrough of a simple project network diagram, to demonstrate how the diagram is created and then how it is transferred to commercially available software such as Microsoft Project, and then to demonstrate manually calculating the critical path and then showing the way that Microsoft Project would calculate for you automatically. For the R, opportunities to rethink, revise, and refine. How will students have opportunities to rethink, revise, and refine their work? There will be ongoing discussions about assumptions being made at every decision point. Students would work in groups to develop their own network diagrams and critical path calculations. And then one important feature would be to develop a simple role play where one set of students might represent prospective bidders trying to bid a contract, and then the other group of students would be project sponsors who are responsible for budgeting and awarding the contract and have to evaluate the schedule for how reasonable or realistic that it might be. So in this way, students would also get an idea of what a real-world example would be like and coming from the different perspectives. especially since usually a bidder is representing a business interest that really needs that work to keep their doors open. And then on the other side, you have a sponsor who has a fixed budget and a fixed timeline and constraints that they have to meet. Reflection and self-regulation. How will students have time to improve their metacognitive and self-regulation skills? Keeping journals, reflecting on the role play, trying to look back and assign meaning to the activities that they've been through. The second E, evaluation, formative feedback, taking periodic breaks throughout the activities, asking questions and trying to get kind of verbal feedback from students to see how they're starting to make connections between the different pieces of the schedule that we're working on. Perhaps having students develop evaluations each day for their teammates' work. And then another way to do that would be to return to the questions from the pre-test that we did at the very beginning of the course, and have students use their clickers, their handheld voting devices, to answer the same questions and see if any progress has been made. And then as we move into tailoring, this is where we begin talking about differentiation and the importance of staying in line and aligned with the original course and unit objectives and the goals that need to be met, but in doing so, also making sure that that different students with different backgrounds, different readiness levels, different learning styles, different interests, and their own personal goals, how can you make it appealing and effective to all those different students and yet still maintain the same goals? So it's important to understand how we can differentiate learning and not change the goals. And I've given some examples here of how that can be done. And then finally, the O, how to organize the material towards learner-centered strategies, how to be authentic, how to make sure that the learning objectives are actually relating to meaningful real-world examples and can be transferred to real world problems. How can we organize to more creativity, to higher order skills and habits of mind? How can we organize to assess students' learning? What are the ways that we can do both formative and summative assessments to get feedback along the way and to be able to gauge at the end whether or not the unit learning objectives have been met? And then finally, how can we analyze data? How can we take this formative assessment feedback that we get throughout the course and quantifiably analyze that so that we can make sense of that and make course corrections as needed? So that is stage 3. Thanks very much.